Okay, so who played games?
I
Who
did.
played the games?
I did.
Okay, great. What'd you play?
But I'm actually going to start with something that I have not actually played yet. But I attended a virtual preview event for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you, I've seen some ratcheting, I've seen some clanking, and I've seen some riveting. Rivet being the new female Lombax. Voiced by none other than Jennifer Hill, by the way.
Hell yeah!
Yeah. She seems cool as hell. Yeah, there was a kind of a 2-day thing, and saw a big, long new gameplay demo, and man, does this game look freaking unbelievable. Like, just from a visual standpoint, it is shocking how good looking this game is. I cannot believe it. And had a whole bunch of breakout sessions with various people on the team, who designed the guns and designed the levels and designed the fur technology, things of this nature. Man, does it look good. Just like shockingly good. And a lot of what was being talked about comes down to the PS5 technology and how they could not make this game on another platform, because it is so heavily dependent on the PS5 technology, specifically the SSD and the DualSense controller. So on the SSD side of things, they went so far as to say that any transition that is not instantaneous is there only for effect. So in those gameplay demos and the trailers where Ratchet and Clank fly through a portal and they fly through hyperspace for a couple of seconds and then pop out in another scene, that's for effect. They can do anything at any moment, at any time, without using any memory. So, like, the SSD is so fast, they don't have to store anything in memory ever. And so, like in previous games, they would have to limit the design of levels and what could be in these levels based on what would fit into memory. So you could only have a certain set of enemies, for example, or you could only have a certain number of textures. There is now literally no limitation except the size of the SSD and the PS5. So,
okay.
The example that was given was the topiary sprinkler weapon, which you throw out and it turns your enemies into topiaries, or shrubs. And
Nice.
So each enemy has a very highly detailed shrub version of themselves that lives in the game data. And in the past, you would have to store all the shrub versions of enemies in memory so that they could pop into existence when they need that. But they don't do that. So the moment you turn on the sprinkler, the literal frame before they turn into a shrub, the PS5 loads the shrub data from the SSD into reality and pops it into reality within the space of one frame, which is like 30 milliseconds or something like that. So they were saying that engine technology is something that is nowhere near adequate at this point to really take advantage of this. So a lot of their time was spent breaking their engine so that they could do more. And they were saying, we cannot imagine what people are going to do with this technology in 5 or 6 years when engines catch up to how fast this frickin' thing is.
Crazy.
So yeah, to say this game is going to be a showpiece is understatement of the century. And yeah, it's looking very, very good.
Game of the year, maybe? Early contender? Halfway point? For me.
Best looking game? Very possible.
Sure.
Based on what they showed. It's
that city level is really cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the other thing they were talking about was the DualSense, obviously. And they were equating the haptics and the trigger control in this game to, if it was removed from the game, it would be like taking the sound out of a PS4 game. They're treating that output through the controller as a completely new channel of information that now must be there in order for the experience to be right.
Huh.
Which
All right.
is like, okay, I get what you're putting down, but like, why is that the case? And well, as you know, Ratchet and Clank is very dependent on weapons, and you're always shooting, and they've got really cool weapons all the time. And in the past, they've had to assign multiple buttons or multiple triggers to guns so that you could have a primary fire and an alternate fire. But with the loss of Rhett, I'm going to keep going. But in the world of Rift Apart, that doesn't have to be the case. The trigger can behave differently for literally every gun in the game. So for things like the Enforcer shotgun that they were showing off, there are two distinct trigger stops. And you pull the first one, it fires the first barrel. You pull it farther, it fires the second barrel. Or you can just pull it really hard and fire all the barrels at once. Or for a gun that has to charge up, there can be a stop that is the charge. So you no longer have to like time up a charge or hold a button to charge. You can just pull the trigger halfway to charge up your gun and then pull it all the way through to fire it. And although I've not played it yet, they are claiming that all these things feel incredible. So, Ratchet and Clank. I'm very excited to play it. And yeah, hopefully that's going to be soon. Because it is coming out on June 11th.
Oh, shit. That's not far at all. It's like right the day before E3 starts. It's gonna be a hell of a thing.
That's a real mic drop, I think.
Oh, holy shit, yeah. We can show whatever we want. We got Ratchet and Clank out in the wild.
Yeah. It's hard to describe how good it looks. I'm hopeful that I'll have some B-roll that I can put with this this audio so that you can see how good it looks, because they did show an entire new level. And even though it doesn't seem like it's doing too much on the surface to change up that formula of here's a big giant level, go gather some bolts, do some stuff, do some rail grinding, shoot some guys, do some ratcheting and clanking, solve some puzzles, play some mini games.
Yeah.
It looks so fun. And I think that it's the perfect time for something like that is focused on fun versus, making an impact. Much like I think last year when The Last of Us came out, it was the wrong time for that game, and that's why a lot of people really didn't like it at that time. This is the right game at the right time, as people are fed up with political nonsense and whatnot. Hey, this looks like it's going to be fun.
Yeah, just get in there, and people like basically know what to expect from a Ratchet and Clank game. They kind of understand what they're getting into. They're just giving you that, but like better.
Also, the music in this game is by Mark Mothersbaugh, who's the guy who wrote the music in Rugrats.
Oh.
And is quite a famous composer. The music did sound pretty cool. Sounded pretty good.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird poll, but you know what? I'm into it. You get the Rugrats guy, which I'm sure he has credits to his name that are not Rugrats that I just don't know, because the list of composers I know is real short.
Well, the way they were talking about it and why they wanted to work with this guy is that Ratchet and Clank has this, lighthearted appeal. It's very whimsical a lot of the time, but it does also try to tell some serious story elements. And when action ramps up, they want it to get really actiony. And so they, I guess this composer's work was kind of the blueprint. Like, well, we really want somebody who can write stuff like Mark Mothersbaugh can. And they're like, what if we just tried to get Mark Mothersbaugh? That would be very Mothersbaugh-esque.
Yeah, it would. It would strongly resemble his work in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. So obviously have not touched it yet, so can't vouch for the quality of the game, but all the things they were saying sounds like they have taken this in the correct direction to push the franchise forward and are implementing all the things they learned making Miles Morales for the PS5 launch to really leverage that PS5 stuff.
Yeah, this is probably a pretty safe bet.
Yeah. One more thing to note that I thought was very impressive is the PS5 is so powerful and so overpowered for what this game requires that they can at all times be rendering 2 full detail scenes. So lots of times if they do a thing like you can see through a portal into another world, you aren't just seeing that portion of the world. The entire world exists. It's being rendered and the system knows what's happening in that background. Or if they do things like a cool sci-fi wipe, both the scenes that are being shown exist at the same time. There's no trickery. Because they don't have to do trickery.
So you have like an open portal, and then the whole world exists on the other side of that portal.
Yeah, the shit that's happening on the other side of the portal, like all the characters that are doing things, that's all happening. But the world that you're currently in, all that shit's also happening too.
You know, I don't really have the language to properly describe the idea in my head. But what I'm thinking is that having this kind of power in games means that people like speedrunners and glitch exploiters, the sort of people who like to like go in and like break things and fuck around and push the limits of a game, are gonna find some really wild shit in the coming next couple of years, because suddenly the size of the playground is so huge, and like there's all these things. It's like, well, they couldn't possibly let us do that, but like, well, I think maybe they can now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the speed of the architecture that is happening in the back end removes all speed limits. So, like in the future, if they're making a future Spider-Man game, there doesn't have to be a cap on the swing speed. So if someone figures out an exploit to make Spider-Man swing at the speed of light, it's possible, and it'll keep up. That's a really weird nod to subculture, but yeah, just moving as fast as like an F-14 or whatever, just like ripping through the skies. Afterburner Spider-Man, I'm into it.
Oh my god, yes. I'm into it. Hey, this just occurred to me right this second, but if somebody wanted to make another Superman style game, right, this would be a great space to do it in, like the PS5, because then it's like, oh yeah, you could just fly to the other side of the planet. It's fine. It'll be there when you get there, or like do crazy leaps or crazy punches or whatever. You know what I mean? Like the engine power seems very suitable to that sort of like game breaking power.
Yeah. Very interesting to see where especially level design is going to go, because there no longer needs to be that section where you squeeze through a wall because, hey, the rest of the level has to load, or, we have specifically designed this place so that sight lines are narrow so that we have enough memory to load what's next. Like, no, it's not a problem. It loads within one frame. You can do anything at any time. And I'm sure the Xbox Series X is capable of very comparable things, but they just, haven't shown us any fucking games.
Maybe Halo Infinite, when it's done, part of the Infinite will be the draw distance, just like you can just like bust out your viewfinder and look to the other side of the planet or whatever.
Wow, there's Craig the Brute. Way down there.
Yeah.
All 8 polygons.
Yeah. Just fully rendered 2.5 miles away. Sure.
I should have known Nefarious would try something like this.
Don't beat yourself up. This'll be just like old times. Come on, it looks like Nefarious landed somewhere near the train station.